Welcome to an upload of Steel Talk and Iron Responses.
Folks!
And I think a lot of it falls back on us. We're not passing on information right. And I'm guilty of that too. But I'm going to take a little window of opportunity right now because with our champion, yes, Dr. Umar Johnson, putting Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism back on deck. You know, I thought I would walk a little through some of that history, just a little bit, that I've been neglectful of sharing on all these different platforms and formats. I think I might have mentioned this man's name once or twice, but if I may be allowed to, knowledge of God.
Of course, please.
Thank you. Take a few moments.
No.
Pan-Africanism, it's a global concept, meaning wherever, what part of the planet you're on right now that's inconsequential, has no relevance greater than where you came from, that keeps us all brothers and sisters. So if you're from Africa, wherever you are now, we are one. No matter what language, what colonizers, language you speak, French, Portuguese, English, German, Spanish, whatever you speak it. If your bloodline is of that origin, peace, queen, how are you? We are all brothers, so Pan-Africanism. And real close to home, Black nationalism. Now, one name I'm glad more people know. A few may not, but I'm glad to say, I'm going to say it, and most folks will, yeah, and even respect his work. The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Fortunately enough, people know about him, but I don't think we uphold his programming and mindset of what he did and how he had a global concept. There was a man who came immediately after the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey that very few know, even here in Harlem, the streets that he walked. And I'm going to show a picture of him. Some of you, because there's not even that many pictures of him, which is another interesting part of his story. And although I've heard recordings of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who predates him by 20, 30 years, I've never heard his recorded voice because he had a no access stand on the media. He never let the media record any of his meetings. He never released press conferences or press statements rather to the media. He never allowed the media to follow him easily. His stand was, how is any tentacle of this oppressor ever going to be used to serve me or serve my revolution or my fight against him? And if you think about it right now, it's such a simple concept. But so many of us, pursue media. And again, I feel I'm in that cabal and being in front of the media so often. I see it as a tool, as almost like an offset printer that the Garvey used to revolutionize getting out the message. So it can be used, but it's still part of their power structure. So let's not go for the okie doke to think everything we're doing is not being monitored and not even being steered. There's no action that's taking place in this social media. But peace, good brother. I'm the man. But again, the name is an Honorable Carlos Cooks, and this is his image. And this is the man that had Black nationalism on deck right here in Harlem in a way that, oh my goodness, would make your chest swell. And I'm speaking kind of even from oral tradition in a sense, because a little of this I had a front seat to, in that my father was in the African Legion, which was the military wing of the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. The African Nationalist Pioneer Movement was a movement that this gentleman started, the Honorable Carlos Cooks. And to show you how deep the Pan-Africanism was, how clear it was, Carlos Cooks was born in what was then, and still now, the Dominican Republic. So he was of Dominican origin. But guess what? They were so clear then that meant nothing. He was an African. And he knew all the brothers he met were Africans. So again, so much earlier in time, but our consciousness as raising again was so much higher then.
Wow.
So, but he raised men. And my father, again, I spoke briefly earlier about being around strong men. My father adored this man, Carlos Cooks. My father thought the height of, my father was a strong man. So to see my father pay the kind of homage and respect to him So I saw Black Power so early in so many different ways.
That's cool.
I remember as a child, fortunately, my father took me to some of the meetings right here in Harlem that the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. Now, again, I'm 6, I'm 7, so I'm like, I want to get him out of here. I ain't feeling no speeches. Like, I'm tired, I'm restless, and I'm as fidgety as my dad would allow me to be until he gives you one of them looks. And y'all know when a black man gives you a look like chill, and then you stop for the rest of the time. But I remember one thing I'll never forget, that as soon as Carlos Cooks walked into a room filled with upwards of 200 men immediately rose to their feet. They raised their right foot and they stomped the ground and said, "Chief!" And it echoed through the room. And to be a child at 7-ish and to see a wall of black men in uniform all standing to acknowledge and respect another black man by the name of Carlos Cook, who was their leader, their Black Nationalist leader. So that's what Black nationalism was. So somebody hear it now, Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism. And I know, unfortunately, it sounds in some instances like an antiquated term. So hopefully just giving you a little legs from the oral tradition of what that meant to me. And we marched, and to this day I still march in the Honorable Marcus Garvey parade that leads out of Marcus Garvey Park every August 17th. So if you're in Manhattan, you're in Harlem, August 17th, Marcus Garvey Park. You should be there, honor that man. He's one of our greats. So, and I hope I didn't take too far out, but I want to touch on Pan-Africanism. So let people know that there's a rich history to that. And there are rich men who gave everything to build our consciousness and to make us understand that we were global people. The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey had a global reach with his magazine. They were reading it in multiple languages. Man, we were on time until, again, the government moved on him. With some assistance from some turncoats, we always will have them among us. We got to get better and better at identifying them and removing them from our midst. But he had a global vision for us. All of our great leaders think globally. You move, you organize locally, but you never forget that you got a brother and a sister in different parts of this planet, that we are more unified if we come together and fight each other's strength from each other's common enemy, regardless of the language that he speaks. So again, hopefully that gave some background.
That was definitely dope. Yeah, because a lot of times we do just hear about just certain people. Not saying that that they shouldn't be revered, but there's a lot of people that died and fought and just as influential and just as put in just as much work, basically.
Yes, and I did give a time frame for Carlos Cook. That was around Malcolm X's coming into the nation.
So he was around the time of Malcolm X.
Exactly, and I take nothing away from the fruit of Islam. Serious brothers, tight, strong, military, precise. But the African Legion was no joke. Again, suited and booted. They had and they predated the start of the Nation of Islam, which is a small fact. Organizations will predate. That's just a cause of fact. And many instances you can test your enemy's effectiveness and what is the most serious threat that he will eliminate.
Yeah.
Because the nationalist movement is fledgling. I've run across a few diehards, but the organization was almost decimated. And please, the work that the December 12th movement is doing, that Sister Ya is doing, as right now the first female head of the African National Pioneer Movement. So that movement is still in existence.
That's crazy.
But its numbers have depleted. And like with any organization, morale, you gotta keep the people's faith. And you keep that by them seeing you do work and taking stands on their behalf. So very strong legacy. It hasn't ended, but it's on the ropes, and maybe part of me researching it and getting these names out, you might want to Google Carlos Cooks. You might want to do some research of the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. I'm sure they may have a presence that I can later give you links to for those who are interested in expanding this information and knowledge about Pan-Africanism and Black nationalism.
That's dope. No, definitely. And also, I know you got some music.
Yes.
That you want to show to the people.
I have another treat for a future upload. first of all, most of you already know, my profession, I'm a personal trainer. And I've been at this a minute. I'm approaching my 30th year. I have a client that nearly has been with me for that 30-year period, who happens to be a very accomplished jazz performer. And his name is none other than the great Ron Carter. Now, as great as he is as a jazz bassist, he is one of those grandmasters who doesn't often make himself available for interviews. But I've been graced with my close working relationship with him that he has allowed me to set up a schedule to come and interview him about jazz, where it was, where it is, where it's going, what impact it's having globally. And I know Kia Light Productions has somewhat of a young following. I know we got some old heads in there, some middle heads. I don't know whatever kind of head a non-old head is. But for those of you who don't, the youngins who don't know Ron Carter, ask your mom or your dad. If they like jazz, you tell them Ron Carter's going to be coming up on Kia Light Productions. I bet you we're going to get like maybe 5,000 dudes once they're here, because the man, his history is so rich, but he's a very quiet, very reserved gentleman. And for him to be able to open up now and give some of the great details about his life as well as jazz is going to be one of the uploads I'm looking forward to bring to Kia Light Productions. So that's why I had the album. And this is a younger picture. He just turned 80. His last birthday, 80. He still trains with me 3 days a week.
Wow.
Calisthenics, weight training. I've been with this brother as he became a grandfather. First of all, his two sons, watch him raise them, Miles and Ron. Now remember those names, Miles and Ron, because he has two grandsons, twins, and their names are Miles and Ron. Now, you can imagine the kind of level of respect and adoration you have to have for a man to name your son and your grandson after him. And so he was one of the first performers to play with Miles Davis. Again, for you youngins, check with mom and dad, might even check with granddad. These are names of greats. So Ron Carter played with Miles Davis, and that impact was obviously so strong. And so for a man to name his son after you, you know that has to be one of those relationships that are just of historic proportions. So that's some of the other information I wanted to share.
Brother Herman Smalls, man, once again, I appreciate your time as always, man. Always giving us the real and what we need.
Yes.
Giving us the keys of life. You know what I'm saying? Much love and appreciation of what you do.
Well, always you being so willing to come and go to different venues. You are going to be on 125th more often. There's so much energy taking place here. We are literally feet away from doors that some of our greatest walk through. So there's just an energy and there's a vibe that Kia Light Productions has to be in the mix and building with. So once again, we need your subscription. Continue tuning in. Share your thoughts, share your opinions for or against. The big thing we're trying to do is stimulate the conversation. Trying to have you constantly opening up your third eye so that you know that the information and knowledge is here. But we got to get it, apply it, and make our families, our community, and our nation bigger and stronger. Continue to support. Peace.